In this video, I'm going to show you my basic beauty lighting setup. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. And in this video, I'm going to show you my basic beauty lighting setup. Now, beauty lighting in a small home studio is a great technique because it doesn't need much space. You are just shooting a tight head and shoulder shot, but there's lots of variations you can do with it. Now, the basic idea is going to extend to the lighting as well. In this case, it's a single one light setup. This one right here, the Flashpoint Xplor600. And I like using this one because it has a built-in LED modeling lamp, which just makes the whole thing a little bit easier to set up. But I could do exactly the same shots if I switched this for a speed light, for example. I need a couple of other things as well. I need a reflector and a background. And that is it. Really basic, really simple. So let's get the light set, let's get a model in, let's get shooting. So to help me out today, it's great to have Beth back in the studio. Now we're going to do a beauty lighting setup, and the first thing we need to do is sort out the light. This is going to be a single light setup. Now I've got the light overhead, which is kind of where you want it for a beauty setup, but whether that's the right overhead, we'll see in a minute. But what's really important is the light stand. Now, if you've got just a standard light stand, it's going to be right in front of your model, and that's going to cause you problems with framing. So having a boom arm is a really good idea. And if you're going to use a boom arm, make sure you carefully balance it. I've got the lightweight remote head for the Xplor600. That's not too heavy. The heavy bit is down the bottom, counterbalancing the whole thing. Safety first. You don't want to drop this on your model. Next thing to do is to work out the exposure. Now I've got my camera set to f4 and I want this light to produce exactly the same amount of light. So I've got my light meter and I'm just going to pop this underneath Beth's chin. I'll press the test button and I'm getting a reading of f5.6. So it's actually going to be a little bit too bright. If I took this shot now, it would be overexposed by a stop. So I'm going to get my exposure and I'm going to drop it down, which I can do using the remote control here. Let's just check that again. And now I'm getting f4. So the light matches the camera, but is the light the correct position? Well, that's where you find out by taking a test picture. Okay, Beth, here we go. You're going to look towards the camera and, well, there we go. The picture is indeed correctly exposed, but that is not the correct position. Beauty lighting, although it is lighting from above, it is not directly overhead. It gives very, very hard contrasty shadows across the face if you do that, and it's not the look we're going for here. So what I've done is I've moved the light back and angled it a little bit as well, so it's still hitting Beth in the face, but it's still elevated and above. And this is kind of where I like to put my beauty lighting. It doesn't matter whether you're using a beauty dish or a softbox. I like to have it elevated and a little bit further away than it was before. Now, because we've moved it, we need to check the metering. So let's get the flash meter, pop it underneath Beth's chin, press the test button, and I'm getting f2.8. So I've lost a stop of light by moving it back. Again, I can do a stop more by adjusting the power here. Let's do that. And I'm back to f4. So I'm keeping this light producing the exact amount of light that I'm after to match my camera setting. Okay, let's take this shot and see how it compares to the last one. Here we go, Beth. This time we have much more light in Beth's eyes. We can see the catch lights, which are up at 12 o'clock, which is the position I'm looking for beauty lighting, although there is still some shadow in it, and there's quite a bit of shadow underneath Beth's chin. So to fill the shadows underneath Beth's chin, I'm going to use a reflector. Now reflectors come in different sizes and shapes and colours. Now this one has white on one side, and on the reverse it's silver. Now they give different looks, and which one you use is up to you. I'm going to use the white one first, and let's pop that in underneath Beth. So we're going to get that in nice and close and tuck it right underneath. I'm going to have it ever so slightly angled up as well, so there's a little bit of an angle going on there, and we'll take that shot. Here we go, Beth. The end result is very different. It's a much flatter light in as much as there's less shadows. The shadow underneath the chin, well, it's still there, but as you can see, it's greatly reduced. That's a classic beauty lighting. And when you look up close, you'll see there is a reflection of the reflector in the eyes as well as the light above. So the white side is great if you're going to get the reflector really close. Now, if we were to use the silver side, we'd get a very different result. It would look much harsher with much more light bounced back from our key light above. Whether you like that look or not is entirely up to you. However, there is a time when I will use the silver side of the reflector. So it makes sense that the white side of the reflector is going to bounce less light into the shadows than the silver side. So when do I use the silver side? Well, I use this when I want the reflector a little bit further away but still want the fill light. And this is a perfect example. So we got Beth sat a little bit lower down, and I've done that because I've got a board that I'm going to put the reflector on. So I'm going to put the silver side on this board like that. Now, the reason I've done that is to help with the modeling a little bit, because where before Beth was fairly static, what we've done here is we've given her a solid surface that she can actually lean on. She can lean into it, she can lean on it, and it just helps to give you a range of different poses that's a lot more difficult if you don't have a solid surface. It's a bit further away than it was before, hence I'm using the silver reflector rather than the white reflector. And because Beth's lower down, I've had to lower the light as well. Now I've already metered this out, I know it's ready for f4, so let's take a few pictures like this, see how it looks. Are you ready, Beth? Here we go. Those pictures look absolutely fantastic, even on the back of the camera, but there's always a bit of room for post-processing. So let's get one of these pictures into Photoshop, and we're going to do that right now. So we've looked at my basic beauty lighting. Now it's time for my very basic beauty editing. This is quick, it's simple, it works best when you have a model with great skin and makeup. Let's see what I'm going to do. So I've got the picture into Photoshop and I'm just going to have a close look. So let's double click on the zoom tool and we'll have a move around with the hand tool, and I'm just looking for any problem areas, any spots or anything that I want to remove. Now, as you can see, Beth's got really great skin and we had the help of a makeup artist, which makes this even easier, but there's a few little areas here and there that I might just want to touch up like so. Okay, so once I've done that, the next thing to do is to take this image out of Photoshop and into a third-party plugin. Now, it's called Nik software. It's made by Google, or owned by Google. It's free, and at the moment, it currently works, but that won't last forever, so get it whilst you can and use it whilst it works. Once you've installed Nik software into your Photoshop or Lightroom, I'm going to go to Filter, and then down to Nik Collection, and the one I want is Color Efex Pro 4. Now, Nik software is getting on a little bit now, and it's not the quickest piece of software to work, but it gets there in the end, just a bit of patience required. Once I'm in Color Efex Pro 4, I'm going to go to the top left corner and choose the Portrait option. And from here, I'm going to use just two of the standard filters. The first one I'm going to use is Glamour Glow. So I'll come down and click on Glamour Glow, and on the right-hand side, I now have a panel of options for Glamour Glow. The only one I want to change really is the saturation, which I'm going to put back to 0. So that's my first setting done. The next one is going to be Add Filter. So click on the Add Filter button, and then I can come back over to the left side, and this time I'm going to choose Dynamic Skin Softener. So I press the Dynamic Skin Softener, go back to the right-hand side, and I can make a few changes here. The first one is to sample the skin color. So I need to click on the little eyedropper tool and then click on some Beth's skin, just sort of a middle of the road skin color, something like that. Now, back onto the right-hand side, I'll leave the color reach alone. That tends to work pretty well at 25, but I'm going to change the small details. I actually like to keep this nice and low. I'm going to go for 10. The medium details, I like to go for 20, and the large details, I'm going to go for 30. Nice, easy numbers to remember. Now remember, these are my starting numbers. Of course, you can go and change your mind and do anything else. Good idea is to go in nice and close, and then you can really see how these work as you change the numbers. Once I've done that, I just need to click on the OK button, which has just dropped off the bottom of the screen, and that will apply this as a brand new layer on our image. And there we go, it's finished. Now, it is quite a strong effect. Now, if that effect is too strong for you, not a problem, just jump over to the opacity, and what I normally do is to bring the opacity down to around about 70%. That gives a nice combination of the original skin and the NYX software softened skin. And there you go, there is my basic beauty lighting shot completed. This may have been just a basic technique, but the end result is really great. And of course, you can always take the basic idea and expand it in so many different ways. And I'll be looking at some of those in a later video. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a comment below. And of course, if you want to see more from myself and the other amazing presenters right here on Adorama TV, you know what you've got to do? You've got to click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.